Blessing.
Hello.
Hey there.
Hey.
Blessings to you. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, great post. I love the story.
Yeah. What resonated with you?
Um, a lot of it's like, yeah, food is overrated. We are overstimulated by all our passions, and people think like you can see how people eat, and you can also see how they are lustful for other things.
Mm.
And but lockdown. I lived in Brooklyn.
Hmm.
I now live in the Western Colorado. I
Okay.
moved out here about a year ago.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I was a chef for over 35 years. I have a degree in natural therapeutics.
Hmm.
Um, I weighed 100 pounds heavier than I do now.
Hmm.
But over lockdown, being because I was in solitary confinement because I lived alone, and you didn't know many people or they moved away from the city.
Hmm.
I was there recent, like not that long. That when the city locked down, you'd go out in the park. It was hard to make any connections with anyone
Hmm.
other than like a quick hey, boom, like, but you weren't like changing numbers and saying, hey, let's meet up and hang out and have dinner later.
Right.
um so I found that there was no joy after serving others, no joy in food.
Mm.
And then and then just stopped eating
Wow.
and just found like where like after, because like that was 2 years solitary, and it was yeah, I guess it's a sign of depression too. I would have to, like, I've been working through that, but yeah, that's situational depression. Everybody went through it. Nobody escaped. Like anytime I complain about what I went through, I think about that I had it easy,
Mm.
very easy, because who I am, because like yeah, this was difficult times for everyone. Um, but I found that like it. Let me back up.
Hmm.
When I would turn 40, I was 42, I was heavier, I was 100 pounds heavier. And I realized that a grown adult doesn't need to eat so much.
Mm.
And so I started practicing then to both intermittent fasting,
Hmm.
longer fasts, but also never eating till where I was stuffed or
Okay.
full, eating to where I was no longer hungry.
Hmm.
And which was a nice thing of living in New York City pre-pandemic. If you never ate till you're full, it always left room, because I had the idea that you would turn the corner. If you ate a big meal, you in the city, you'd walk a block and a half, and for some reason you could see the most beautiful, most delicious thing in the world,
Mm.
and the most horrible thing would be like, I'm hungry. I'm not hungry.
Uh,
Like, I don't want to eat that. So it's like being opportunistic is like, yeah, you always need to leave some
I
room. But
see.
but and the main thing is as an adult is realizing, as a chef feeding other people and seeing these adults eating huge plates of food like they're 20 years old.
Uh-huh.
Um and then like the in knowing portions, how many people actually eat the proper portion of what lunch should be, or the proper portion. And then like also too is like never eating till you're full. And then it's like you get progressive, where your stomach shrinks more and more.
Hmm. Yeah. So you notice, what did you notice, or what changes in your body did you notice taking place when you started intermittent fasting and starting, going lighter and lighter? What's the progression?
Um, well, one is the hunger pains just disappear.
Okay.
That you don't feel that. Like there's times where I get to the point where it's like, oh, my energy like will crash, and I'll go, oh, well, you haven't eaten in 2 days, because you kind of forget about it. It removes it off the plate.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then you become more sensitive about what you do eat
Mm-hmm.
later. And so I mean, because I think a lot of it came out of no longer serving people and having access to super fresh food and everything that I. So if given the choice of eating uh, crap or not eating, I'll just not
I
eat.
see.
Like if it's
Okay.
processed food or where someone has to go feed, I've taken away the response that I'm not an animal anymore.
Hmm.
I don't have to feed.
Right.
Like it changes everything. And as a chef, like I was a high-end chef, that was the idea anyway of high-end dining, is that you always wanted to keep things intellectually stimulating and stimulating with the plates so that people stay in their head and dine. Because if the fact that we found out like through chefs is like um is hang on um when a person eats the same flavor more than 3 times,
Hmm.
they they have a like a kind of subconscious choice, either to not eat anymore or just to go into feeding mode.
Mm-hmm.
So the answer of like the really high end places, that's where they got into those micro plates where they'd only serve you 3 bites.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then being reasonable is that I would compose plates where, yeah, there was so many different flavors on the that were distinct on the plate. You can kind of dine on the plate, and it's not until you get to the very end does it get to the point where you're feeding.
Hmm.
You say interact is like, ooh, what's that? Ooh, there's a little cheese. Like, ooh, what's that? Ooh, the cheese with the like, oh, is that a fruit there? Like those combinations, you can stay stimulated.
Right.
So already I had the concept of, you know, what is it to be human? You don't want to be just a trough farm animal.
Right.
And,
Right.
and then, so also is to push me was during the lockdown, and now is I realized like farm animals are fat and taken care of, and wild animals are lean and mean and don't know where their next meal comes from. And if you want to be free in the mind and the heart and everywhere spiritually, better to be like a wild animal.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow. So what this was like, this wasn't inspired by anything that you saw, anything that you read, anybody you watched. This was really just something instinctual within you that you discovered, okay, I don't need to eat so much. And then you just naturally started to eat less and less just on your own.
So I got a degree from the New Mexico School of Natural Therapeutics in 2006, Albuquerque, which is Dr. Henry Lindlar had Nature Cure hospitals. And so we have Pritzum, we have a whole history of Nature Cure from Germany. Um, and so I'm familiar with all of that. And so it was, and so I was trained in natural therapeutics. I worked as a massage therapist and a living foods practitioner for a bit,
Mm-hmm.
but then went back to the kitchens, of that world. And then so now when everything stopped, it was like, okay, I need to take this back because this nature cure medicine, like allopathic medicine, is dead. Even though we can't really talk about it too much because they're very aggressive and in control of the information. But a nature cure was developed in the 19th century. Kellogg's study under Pritzon um, in Germany. And so there's a long history of sanitariums and healing places. People used to, go and take a 2-3 week month fast water bath, water cure to go cure themselves before antibiotics and before allopathic medicine, which, Roosevelt took over. I mean, Rockefeller with the Flexner Report took over allopathic medicine in 1913. And that the government said that only the John Hopkins School of Medicine um, program would get any government funding. And prior to that, we had a lot of nature cure. We had a lot of natural therapeutic going on in America, and basically they put them all out of business.
Okay. So it wasn't the education that you received that inspired you. What was the biggest thing that compelled you to stop doing something that you'd been doing for a long time?
I mean, like eating or just changing?
Yeah, yeah, like when you said that you went in this direction, I know you said that it was during a time period where it was a lockdown, everything was happening, but it wasn't your nutritional knowledge or your educational background that led you to fasting, was it?
Well, I think it's in combination because if the head is disconnected from spirit and is disconnected from the heart,
Yeah.
regardless of what you know, it doesn't drive it into action. It's only when everything comes together, and also too, it's like with the lockdown, everybody's life changed, and even then, it's like, okay, I was doing this, here's an opportunity for me to reinvent, not reinvent, but to bring all the different pieces of my life and my personality and my knowledge that weren't together. How do I take this and make it all one? And in that, I have to live it. If you really like believe in therapeutics and nature cure, I don't want to be a hypocrite. I'm not that person.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you said you're 100 pounds lighter today than you were back then. So
Yes.
what are some of the things that you dealt with back then that you no longer deal with? Like what, just certain things that, might have been very challenging for you that you no longer have those challenges.
Oh, well, even then, just running and athletics, like not carrying an extra 100 pounds. Like that's just almost like where like life is after being 100 pounds lighter. It's like, oh, this is amazing. I can't
Right.
I can't see being any other way. And so now it's like, yeah, I gotta make sure that I maintain it because I never would want to be that heavy again. Like everything changes.
Right. Right. Because some people, like are met with a decision, like there's a crossroads, a life-changing moment where they say, okay, if you keep going this way, such and such is going to take place. Were you ever given a diagnosis or something like that where somebody told you you're heading in this direction?
No, and I haven't actually been to a doctor in over 20 years.
Wow.
I'm my own doctor, and that's part of Nature Cure. Is that, I mean, it blew my mind even prior for the last 30 years,
Hmm.
and even more so since like recent, everything's bubbling to the surface and things. Is that your most valuable possession in your life? The most valuable thing is your health. One of the most valuable things, and the fact that you go and you don't know and you go to just it's like owning a Lamborghini and taking it to the local mechanic
Hmm.
and having them work on it. And these people give full, whatever. It's like, oh, my doctor told me to do this. It's like, okay, do you understand the education of what a doctor goes through?
Hmm.
Like, do you know what the whole curriculum is so that you know what they know and what they don't know? I mean, the fact that doctors give any nutritional advice or people even look at it, or is that they have any nutritional advice, should be criminal
Wow.
because they have no training. And if
Wow.
you have no training in nutrition, not and nobody else can go around and say, "Well, I know about nutrition."
Hmm.
There's like you have to be a nutritionist, and yet these people have like maybe an hour or two
Yeah.
in their whole
Yeah.
program in nutrition.
Yeah, this really hits home for me, Greg, because yeah, you're really hitting home. Like my mom's a doctor, and she's told me how minuscule, the amount of information that they're given is very like very low, very low.
It's based on medicine and surgery, and
Yeah.
you can also say it can also be poison and mutilation.
Mm. Wow. 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 So was that even more of a reason for you to, because the message that you're putting out, like it feels like there's passion behind it. What was something, did this fuel you in a certain way to make you say, you know what, something's got to give, something's got to change. And especially for you to be putting your voice out there for other people to hear your message and to know that, certain things are taking place that people probably don't even realize.
Yes, and I think it's being moved by spirit,
Okay.
because my eyes are open. I got a brain by the grace of God and by spirit,
Mhm.
and that others don't see. Maybe they're not, you know, prayers for the scales of other people's eyes to flake off,
Mhm.
and a lot of it is you can't tell people.
Okay.
You got to live it, and
Right.
you just got to become it. And the same time is people talk recently like food shortages, you know. Well, one way to combat it, people say, "Well, I'm going to prep and I'm going to hoard food." That's not a solution.
Mm.
Prepping to me is mental, emotional, and spiritual.
Mm.
You never know. Like, are you gonna die on a hill of food that, like, you're gonna, like, the only way you're gonna think you survive is because you got a pantry of food? That
Right.
doesn't seem like a winning plan. Art of war. You don't declare your battlegrounds before the war even starts.
Right, right. I've heard that military saying, like, this is not the hill that I want to die on.
No,
You know.
no, it shouldn't be a pile of food. And that's
Right.
what we have to learn. But at the same time is that food shortages may be the change that we need in our food system, because as a chef of over 35 years, I understand the food system and understand food, and I've seen what the quality of our food has done.
Hmm.
And the food in the grocery stores for the most part is not food.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't know, it's like stressing the system. It's like what's going on now. So a lot of people are freaking, but it's like, no, I think it's like we need to stress the system to get the change that we need, because we are
Okay.
moving into a whole new, paradigm where our priorities will be completely different. And some of us are living in this new paradigm, and we're waiting for the rest of us to wake up.
Hmm.
And in that, I think is we have to witness like a bunch of stress to be put on the system. Like, as an empath, it's not, even if I feel like, okay, I'm good at this, I'm good at what's coming. The fact that people are asleep and knowing what's coming is going to be kind of horrific
Mm.
for a lot of people. I anticipate a lot of emotional and mental pain where some people can't, are not going to be able to accept the reality, because they've given everyone every warning to wake up, every warning to prepare.
Hmm.
We've had enough time, and if you're still asleep now, I don't know what to tell them. I don't know what to say for you.
Right. Because I can only imagine, and I don't know you personally, but if you've had any like friends, family members, loved ones, or people close to you that, don't know this message or don't even want to hear about this message, as an empath, how does it affect you to see the people that you know, or just beings, with this consciousness?
Oh, well, I think that's more the norm that I've lived for decades.
Okay.
Like, it's I mean, to even say waking up, or like where I was on a spiritual journey in the 90s, and even in for the information of, like, when you say conspiracy, it's like, yeah, I was reading David Icke and Behold the Pale Horse in the 90s, pre 9/11. I was listening to Bill Cooper's radio show
Mm.
the week before, where he named Obama. There's like, you're gonna blame it on Osama bin Laden.
Mm.
And he's like, yeah, it's gonna happen. He knew, like, he said it enough beforehand. And yeah, the feds came up on his house a week after the 9/11. They shot him. Are
Wow.
you familiar with that book?
No, no, I'm not. No.
Okay, yeah, Behold the Pale Horse.
Okay. Okay.
And so yeah, that's just saying that yeah, eyes that see and being awake, and then like as all these different things happen, all these false flags, and you see everyone going upon this one narrative of weapons of mass destruction.
Wow.
And then like there was very few people that you could ever connect with that could see through the veil.
But do you have anybody that you can connect with when it comes to this, or have you gotten used to not having to connect with many people about the
I think you find your connections as you go.
right?
Because even then, as teachers come, it's like, it's like, how do you, follow the wizard path? There's like no real path, and your teachers come and they go, and there's kind of a flow, and that's the same thing is that it's still, regardless, it's always you're a lonesome searcher, even regardless if you feel like you have compatriots, it's still a solitary activity
Okay.
of exploration.
It's your own journey, your
Yes.
self-discovery. Yeah. I love this, Greg. I love that you, like you said, you live your message. Your life is your message. You let your life speak. You say health is wealth. It's number one. You remind me, one of my friends told me that if health is a one, then everything else after that is zero. But if you don't have health, then you got nothing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the modern world, they had everyone trade their health for money.
Okay.
You know, like yeah, you work your whole life and then you retire. Like the whole dream was like yeah, you retire when you no longer have your health.
Wow. Wow. And the money that we might have acquired or amassed during that time has to go now and be devoted to the health that was lost, or
Hmm.
you know
Yeah, and they've been doing this for a long time.
okay.
And luckily, I think collectively we're waking up.
Yeah.
Like some people call it the Great Awakening,
Hmm.
but I I like to call it. I heard that I've heard it somewhere, and I just one of those things where you grab it. It's the Great Humbling,
Humbling.
because only with being humble do you really find knowledge, find true knowledge.
Mm.
It, it's not the awakening. The knowledge will not change us. It's only taking that knowledge and being humble in it.
I love that. I love that. Wow. Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful. So you do have hope. You're saying you have hope for the future. You do see that many more, lights are coming on, many more people are realizing this and speaking about it. You see that in the future.
There's totally a world beyond the storm.
Hmm.
There is a storm coming, and the storm there's going to be some people are concentrating on just surviving the storm. Like I'm seeing, like okay, so after the storm, there's got to be people here to pick up the pieces, and the same time is it's gonna be a new reality. It's gonna be kingdom, and it's when lockdown happened and we went through this change, and we knowing the change that we're going through in the stars and the ages, is I had a vision of a water wheel going around, and that the
Hmm.
bucket is most dry before it gets filled up.
Mm.
And what we're coming into is air. We're going from earth signs to air, and we're going to have community, friendship. That the value of a man is his intellect and how his value in the community is. And we'll go like we are moving into Aquarius, and out of like, so it was like yeah, all these things that we are going to move into is everything that is like just completely manifested with the lockdown, this isolation, all like and the same time is everyone realizing yeah, everyone has everything physically that they need if they just realize it.
Mm.
At this point in time, if like you really want a fancy car, you work hard, you can buy it. Nothing's out of reach of anybody, like physically in a way. I don't know. A lot of people are drowning in stuff, but they're not drowning in love.
Mm.
We're not drowning in friendship. We're not drowning in community. We're not drowning in truth right now.
Wow.
We're not drowning in higher ways of communicating thoughts to each other. Actually, all those things have been completely lacking.
Okay.
But that's what that bucket's about ready to be full.
Okay. Okay. So it's about to run. It's about to run over. You know.
Yeah, and we're going to be operating in a different way. And what our priorities have been for our lifetime, our parents' lifetime, our grandparents, for long time, the priorities are going to shift,
Okay.
and then we're in a process of this transformation of. I mean, because if the world was stagnant, it would never grow.
Right.
We've reached the pinnacle of this materialism. We've reached like the man, like if we can see it, it's like, oh, because we're battling like this future, and but the future is a physical future.
Mm.
You know, we're actually going to move into like where it's like, yeah, we're going to actually be able to debate ideas, and the people that actually have better ideas will raise up. The people that have better skills at communicating with others and creating community will rise to the surface. But we're not there yet. But that's what's coming, which is amazing.
I agree. I agree. You know, I love this, Greg. One of my friends, they told me that an acronym, if you want to call it, for hope is holding on to positive energy, you know? And I think, you know, you've given us hope just by being on this live stream tonight. Like, thank you for your words. This is very empowering, very encouraging, and just enlightening, you know? Thank you for this. And I love your perspective. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on. I love to share.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, I'll share one last thought. You can go. Is recently came up is someone was talking. How can you go to heaven if you come on God's creation and you don't realize that there's heaven and perfection in God's creation? And if you don't appreciate this place, why would they let you into heaven? If you're miserable here, you know, like even like talking, it's like what how you know, misery's misery. You have every power to change that. It's all up here in your heart, in your spiritual connection. And it's like, yeah, if you're miserable here and you hate God's creation, you hate this perfection, this thing that as the more you look at it, the more complex it becomes and it becomes infinite. If you can't find an appreciation in that, I think you completely missed the boat.
Wow. Wow. So finding appreciation, you know, being able to marvel at creation, you know, gratitude.
Yes,
That's
and you know, and in my life too is when you have hard times. I
right.
wouldn't change anything about my life.
Oh.
A lot of people complain about things, but it's like, you know what? Those things, those difficulties are what toughen you.
Mm.
It's like going out halfway naked in the snow.
Mm-hmm.
You're toughening your system. Like it would. I can't imagine a life of 50 years with no troubles.
Mm.
Like that would be almost horrific. Because then how would I ever had the opportunity to grow?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. No, it makes sense. It makes sense.
And so
You
there
know.
you appreciate the hard times.
Yeah. It's
Look
an
at it.
opportunity.
And you look at the lesson, and then you question like, what is it that I need to learn?
Right.
So yeah, I can get another trial.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to do this trial again. I don't have to go battle the Minotaur over and over again. Yeah, it's like, okay, I got that one.
Right.
I learned that. I learned the maze. I learned that lesson. And yeah, well, come on, bring it on.
I love that. So instead of you don't focus on the obstacle, you see it as an opportunity. You know,
Because that's what it is.
that's what it is. Yeah.
And even like in interpersonal relationships, a lot of times, I think the problem is that we have personal expectations of what
that interpersonal relationship will bring, and then you have like disappointments or something. But all of that is to help you
Yeah.
grow.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree. Thank you. That's the message. Thank
All right.
you. All right. Well, you have a wonderful evening.
Yeah,
Enjoy.
God bless. You too.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye. Awesome. Awesome. Well, blessings. Y'all, thank you for listening. Thank you for just being. This has been an awesome session. I had no idea where it was going to go and what direction, but thank you all for being. And thank you, Greg, for coming on. Your words are powerful. We needed it, you know. So blessings. I hope that you continue to use your voice because it's a strong one and the world needs it now. So blessings. Thank you. And y'all take care. See you soon.